about $50 million. Now, these guys were, the guys were in their 20s. They probably started the company less than a year ago. I remember saying, well, how could you possibly think your business is worth $50 million? Said, you have no assets, you've got no revenues, you've got no customers. He's like, you don't have anything. I could recreate your entire business from scratch myself, for next to nothing. And yet you want me to pay you $5 million to get 5% of this thing? Why would I do that? And all they kept telling me was, well, you don't understand. We're going to go public. And you're going to make a lot of money. And I'm like, well, how am I going to go? I said, you think you're going to find people to pay even more than this in a public offering? How are you ever going to make any money? But that was the concept. And he said, well, you don't understand how the stock market works. I'm like, look, I understand how business works, and I understand that, you're not worth, you guys are not worth $50 million because you started an internet company last week. But this is how it was working for a while. It was crazy. But, I got the same things. During the real estate bubble, I remember, I was renting houses. And so I would go and, I'm still renting my house now in Connecticut. And I would go to, houses for rent. And I remember one time I went and there was a house for rent. I looked at it. And the realtor was there. And apparently, the person who was renting it out was an investor who just bought the place. And I asked him, what was the rent? And I would forget what it was. Maybe it was $4,000 a month, whatever it was for this place. And I said, well, what did the guy pay for this? What did he pay? And I said, how can he make any money renting it out to me? Isn't this going to lose money? Doesn't he have negative cash flow? They said, well, yeah, he loses a couple $1,000s a month. And I said, well, and I said to him, but you recommended this as an investment? He says, yeah. I said, well, but why would you recommend as an investment property, a property that has a negative cash flow? Why would you have him buy it? And he said, well, you don't understand. This property is going to appreciate. This property can double in the next couple of years. And I said, why? Why would it double? You can't even cash flow it positive at the price it's at now. How's it going to go up in value? And I said, real estate is a function of rents. And then the guy said to me, same thing. He said, you don't understand real estate. He was telling me that rents don't matter to real estate. Just like when I was telling people to buy stocks, they were telling me dividends don't matter. I'm buying this stock because it's going to go up. Well, why should it go up? It doesn't even pay a dividend. It's already, who would buy it? I did the same thing when I rented my apartment. I was renting an apartment. After I got divorced, I was renting an apartment in Stamford. And beautiful apartment, right on the water. I had my boat there. Beautiful views of the sound. I had right on the corner. Great unit. It was a beautiful building. I had a concierge. It had, pool. It had, covered parking. It was a security building. It had racquetball courts. Had a gym with a trainer on staff. A lot of amenities. Right next door, there were maybe 20-year-old townhomes for sale. And I went to one of the open houses just for kicks. And there was a unit on sale, whatever they wanted, $500,000 or $600,000 for this unit. That was about the same square footage as what I was renting. But it had no view of the water. It was dark. It was old. There was no security. It had none of the amenities. Yet the property taxes and maintenance fees alone worth like $1,000 a month. And by the time I would have paid the mortgage, if that's how I financed it, I would have been spending more money per month to live in one of these little places than this really nice apartment that I was renting right next door. And I asked the realtor, I said, why would anybody buy this place? You could just rent right next door. There's more units available. I know I just rented. And the lady said to me, well, but when you move out, you're not going to have any equity. I said, well, what do you mean? She says, well, when you buy this property, then, it appreciates, and then when you can sell it, when you move out, you make money. I said, well, why the hell should it appreciate? Didn't you understand? It's already overpriced. You can rent right next door. Why should it go up? And she said, well, that's how real estate works. I said, so you mean the way real estate works is I have to sacrifice. I have to turn down the opportunity to live in a really nice place. I live in this dump for a while, and because I did that, I make money. And somebody else is going to come to me a year or two from now and overpay by even more. and say, I don't want to live in that nice place next door. I'd rather pay more to live here because this is going to appreciate. And they totally forgot, what real estate meant. I mean, real estate's a place to live. But everybody thought it was going to go up, so they were all crazed. But anyway, getting back to where I was before I went off on all these tangents. So we had the stock market bubble because the Fed was too easy. And eventually, Greenspan started to raise interest rates. I mean, he saw what he was doing. He talked about irrational exuberance back in 1996, and they took him to the woodshed because he said something negative, so he shut up going forward. But eventually, he started raising interest rates, and he burst the bubble. He burst the stock market bubble. And of course, when the stock market bubble burst, a lot of the malinvestments were exposed. A lot of people that were working at these .coms, well, they needed to find real jobs because they were wasting their time, because they were destroying wealth. They weren't creating anything of value. So we had a lot of